Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So as some of you may know from based on the last video that I uploaded, I recently rejoined Cebu Pacific Air. It's a local airline here in the Philippines, and I'm sure that a lot of my Filipino subscribers are also interested to join Cebu Pacific. And probably some of you are already waiting for your training as well. But nevertheless, whether you're planning to apply for Cebu Pacific or you are already waiting for your training to start, I got you, because on today's video, I'll be sharing with you what are the things that we studied during my flight attendant training with Cebu Pacific Air. So if you're interested, just keep on watching. But before we begin, let me just invite those of you who are interested. On October 31, I will be holding another Days with Kath Cabin Crew Masterclass, Soft Skills Development, the Art of Acing Your Cabin Crew Interview. So if you're somebody who wants to prepare more for your flight attendant interview, I know there's gonna be tons of flight attendant interviews in the coming months. So if you're somebody who's planning to go on any of those, just send me an email at dayswithkath@gmail.com so I can share with you the full details of the Days with Kath Cabin Crew Masterclass. I hope to see you there. The Cebu Pacific training has a reputation for being so difficult because most of the training revolves around safety and security and this. With that being said, some of my batchmates also asked me, so which one is more difficult, the Qatar Airways training or the Cebu Pacific training? And it was quite difficult for me to answer that question because by the time that I did my training with Qatar Airways, I was already experienced. It was very familiar. So I found the Qatar Airways training a little easier compared to the Cebu Pacific training. But now, looking back to the the very first training that I did with Cebu Pacific back in 2011, yes, it was difficult for me because I came from the medical field. So most of the topics, the terminologies, the whole idea of aviation was new to me. And that made it a little bit more challenging. Plus, the training entails a lot of memorization because you'll have to memorize the standards, the operations of equipment we have on board, the drills that we need to perform. And yeah, that's what makes it a little bit more challenging. Now, fast forward to my recent training, was it still difficult for me? I wouldn't say that it was 100% difficult, but take note that I was on vacation, let's say vacation. I stopped flying for 2 years. So now that I rejoined Cebu Pacific, I had to relearn all the things that about aviation that I almost forgot. And plus, one more thing is that since I worked with Qatar Airways for quite a long time, I had to unlearn all the things that I memorized for the past 8 years that I was working with them. So I had to unlearn everything about Qatar Airways, their terminologies, their standards, and of course, now I have to learn again the standards of Cebu Pacific. So the entire Cebu Pacific flight attendant training is 43 days. And I'm going to be breaking it down. What are the things or what are the subjects that we studied during this flight attendant training? So the first day of our training was very chill. It was very relaxed because we were only it was sort of an orientation. They're gonna brief you about the company policies, what's expected of a flight attendant, and all that jazz. So day 2 is where all the difficult stuff begins, and during my training, the first subject is Aero Nomenclature. Aero Nomenclature is the subject where you will familiarize yourself with the parts of the aircraft, the common terminologies that we use when we are inside the aircraft. I've already made a video about this, so if you want to familiarize yourself with those things, you can check out the link. I'll be placing it down in the description box. Sure, basically whatever terminologies that you need once you start flying, they will teach you that. It's like the vocabulary of a flight attendant or whoever is involved in the aviation industry, like forward, aft, inboard, outboard, parts of the aircraft, yeah, all those things, because it's very important for you to know these terms before you move forward to the next topics, because you're going to be using all these new words once you start with the various procedures of the airline. The next subject is the aircraft familiarization. This is a subject where a lot of the trainees tend to fail during the examination because, like what I said, since it's new, everything is new, especially if you're not in the aviation field, it's gonna be very overwhelming. There's a lot of things that you're gonna need to memorize. Well, it's quite easy because there's only two aircrafts that you initially need to study with Cebu Pacific. It's just the Airbus A320 and the Airbus A321. However, for 320, you have the CEO or the current engine option and also the NEO new engine option. And same goes for the A321. Yes, like what I have said, there's examinations for each subject. For each subject there will be an exam after the entire module. So what happens is sometimes you're gonna discuss you're gonna start with one subject in the morning, and then the same day or the following day you're gonna have your examination. So you really have to focus during the discussion. If you can do advanced reading prior to the class, that will be a very big help. What are the things that they discuss during the aircraft familiarization? How many galleys are there in the aircraft? How many lavatories? What's the maximum altitude that a specific aircraft can fly? What's the capacity of the aircraft? What's the minimum crew? What are the door operations, emergency door operations? So everything about the aircraft, whatever you see inside, outside of the aircraft, you're gonna be discussing that during the aircraft familiarization. The next topic will be emergency equipment. So as you all know, if there's going to be any emergency inside the aircraft, the flight attendants are equipped, or they are provided with the resources that we're going to need in case of an emergency. So those are your fire extinguisher, your protective breathing equipment, portable oxygen bottle, your emergency locator transmitter, all these things. Okay, these terms might sound so alien to you right now, but try to read up on these things prior to your training, so at least you're gonna be familiar with how they look and what are they used for. So emergency equipment again is one challenging subject because you will have to memorize the plotting. Where are they exactly located inside the aircraft? And this is the only written exam that we have during this training, because everything is done through the computers except for the equipment plotting, and you have to memorize everything. You're gonna be given a blank map of the aircraft, like jumps under the jump seat, overhead bin, what are you gonna find there? So you really have to memorize all the things inside the aircraft. During emergency equipment subject is where we also do our fire drills, as you can see right here. So you're gonna have to show your instructor that you know how to operate a fire extinguisher and you'll know how to extinguish fire. There is also like a minor subject, it's called fatigue risk management. It's just a simple subject where they will teach you how to manage your fatigue, how to get enough rest prior to a flight. So it's sort of a break in between the difficult subjects just to relax your mind before you move on to the next difficult subject, which is actually my favorite subject, the first aid and basic life support. You're going to be taught how to do CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation. So there's going to be a practical exam wherein you'll have to show your instructor how to properly give or administer CPR to an unconscious passenger. The next subject is the conditions of carriage, and I must say this is one of the subjects that is not so dear to me. Carriage, we talk about how many medical cases are we allowed to carry on board, how many unaccompanied minors, are we allowed to take prisoners on board or ammunitions on board. Again, memorize. There is an examination and it's mostly numbers. Maybe that's why I don't really like it, because you have to memorize how many unaccompanied minors, how many medical cases are we allowed to carry on board, how many, so many how manys. Yeah, so that's conditions of carriage for you. Next topic is dangerous goods. So if you're somebody who has already traveled by air, and you would notice, right, that when you check in your bag, the ground staff would ask you, do you have any of these things inside your bag? The ones that I'm showing here in the photos, that's what we consider dangerous goods. They are items that we carry on board that might pose a potential risk to the health or safety, But you're going to be talking about the exact definition of that once you start your training, or if you want, you can also do an advanced reading and research what are the dangerous goods and what's the reason why we carry dangerous goods on board, and why is it important for a flight attendant to be familiar with these things. Is it difficult? Not really. It's more of familiarizing yourself to the dangerous goods that passengers might be carrying on board, and how do you handle when you find such items. The next subject is the Philippine Civil Aviation Regulations, or the PICAR, and the standard operating procedures of Cebu Pacific, because this is the Cebu Pacific cabin crew training. We're going to be talking about what are the specific standards and procedures in place so that you will be guided when you encounter different situations on board the aircraft. Another favorite subject of mine is the swimming or the slide drills. If you're somebody who doesn't know how to swim, it's okay if you're not 100% perfect when it comes to swimming. You cannot do backstroke, butterfly, breaststroke, all these strokes. It's okay. As long as you can tread, you will survive the survival swimming. My entire batch survived the survival swimming training. Even those who are not so good at swimming, try practicing your treading, because that's the most important part of the survival training. For you to be able to jump into the water, tread for a couple of seconds, at least you can show the instructor that you are not scared of the water. Up next is the duties and responsibilities. So once you are on board the aircraft, once you are a full-fledged flight attendant, and when you are on board the aircraft, all the duties and responsibilities are divided among the crew members, because you are working in a team. It's not a one-man crew. You are part of a team. So if you're part of a team, all the duties and responsibilities will be divided, and it is also part of the responsibility of a flight attendant to ensure that these responsibilities are carried out on your flight. We also have the Aviation Security training, where you will be taught how to handle unruly passengers. What do we do in case there's a hijack? What do we do when there's a bomb on board the aircraft? So anything that is security related, we will discuss it in the Aviation Security training. You will also have the air restraint training, where you will be taught how to restrain a passenger who is potentially life-threatening, or who is actually life-threatening, or somebody or how to restrain a passenger who is beyond control, meaning a passenger who's trying to or attempting to enter the flight deck, or who is showing signs that they are gonna harm somebody inside the aircraft. Another favorite subject of mine is the emergency procedures, and in this subject is where you will be taught how to handle different emergencies on board. If there's a fire in the lavatory and the overhead bin, galley fire, oven fire, there's gonna be a sudden emergency where we have to land the aircraft, if we're gonna have a water landing or a terrain landing. So all these things are gonna be discussed during the emergency procedures training. And I'm sure you've also watched a couple of videos on TikTok where you see the flight attendants shouting, "Emergency, bend down," or "Exits here, get out, get out." That is what we call the emergency drills. That is part of the practical exam, and it's just pass or fail. It's either you're gonna pass it or you're gonna fail it. After all those drama of difficult subjects, now is the fun part. They're gonna teach you how to do the fun flight workshop rather, where you'll be taught how to conduct the fun game. So if you're somebody who is shy to stand in front of an audience or to speak in front of public, you might find this difficult, but yes, you will have to do the fun flight on board the aircraft also. So you will be trained how to effectively conduct a fun game, how to make it lively, professional, and not annoying. The next subject is the selling skills, because for Cebu Pacific, you're gonna be selling snacks and refreshments on board the aircraft. We also have merchandise. So if you're somebody who is a little bit challenged on that side, if you feel like your selling skills is not really up to there yet, don't worry, they're going to be giving you a couple of tips also on how you can effectively hone your selling skills once you start flying. So those are all the trainings that we undergo while we are inside the classroom. If you think it's done, not yet. Because once you're done with all your theoreticals, your practical exams, now it's time for you to be on board the aircraft, which we call the Supervised Line Experience, or the SLE, where you're going to be flying with a manager who's going to be guiding you. Guiding you, meaning you're going to be operating as a crew. You're going to be working just like everybody else, except that you are guided by somebody who is a lot more experienced than you, who's going to be there to teach you, okay, wait a minute, you forgot to do something, or hold on, maybe you can do it better this way. So that way, you're gonna get the entire experience of working as a flight attendant while you are not alone. So you can ask all the questions all you want during your SLE. Try to get more tips from your manager. Observe your colleagues who are more experienced than you, and you can apply that once you are flying on your own on your productive flights. After the SLE, or the Supervised Line Experience, is going to be your check ride. It's going to be graded. So it's either you're going to pass again or you're going to fail, because this time all the things that you have learned in your training, you're going to be checked by another manager who's going to see if you are competent enough to be released to fly on your own on your succeeding flights. And after that, if you pass that, then it's your graduation. Congratulations, you are now a Cebu Pacific flight attendant. Whew, there's a lot of things to learn, right? If you thought that being a flight attendant is just about being glamorous, being pretty, serving drinks, serving food on board the aircraft, at least now you know that there's going to be a lot of studying that you'll need to do before you reach that goal of becoming a flight attendant. Why did I decide to make this video? Because I don't want you to go into your training thinking that it's just gonna be easy peasy, it's gonna be just fun. Well, the training is gonna be fun. You're gonna meet a lot of friends, but you shouldn't forget that the training is there to ensure that you're gonna be competent once you start flying. For Cebu Pacific training, you are only given 2 lifelines. You can only fail twice. And if you fail 3 times, that's the end of your journey. Goodbye. I'm sorry, but you will have to leave the training. I cannot stress this enough. If you really want to be a flight attendant, you have to study hard. You have to focus. You have to give it your all. You cannot go into the training thinking that, I'm just gonna pass just like that. Because you have to remember your responsibilities once you start flying as a flight attendant. It's more than just you. It's more than just you being pretty, looking nice, wearing your makeup, wearing the uniform. It's more than that. It's more than just posting videos on your TikTok and pictures on your Instagram. You're responsible for the lives of the passengers on board, the lives of your colleagues, and of course your life also, because everybody who's on board that aircraft, they have somebody who loves them, hoping that they will go home. So now, as exaggerated as it may sound, their lives are in your hands. So if anything goes wrong in that aircraft, you have to ensure that you know what you will do. So I hope that once you start your training, you'll keep that to heart and you'll remember what I said on this video. Just study hard, memorize everything. Don't just study for the sake of studying. Try to remember everything. And that is it. That is the Cebu Pacific cabin crew training. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something through this video. And by watching this video, I hope that you're gonna be a little bit more prepared when you, before you go for your flight attendant training. If you have any questions for me, just hit me up down in the comment section. You can also send me an email at dayswithkath@gmail.com. You can also follow me on my other social media accounts, on my Instagram and on my TikTok account, where I make very short videos trying to answer your questions about the aviation industry. If you like this video, please don't forget to hit the thumbs up sign. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please click on that subscribe button. This has been Days with Kath. I will see you next time. Bye!